Thank you, Tim. Everyone can hear me? I can hear me, so I guess you can as well. Well, I'm going to conclude the Andy show. We've had two, I'm the third. A bit about the promotional work. CPI matters could be a lot of things. As I've indicated before, we do a whole load of stuff at CPI. There's technical, there's legislation, there's dealing with government. There's far too much for me to cover, so I'm going to focus particularly on the promotional work. But we are in discussion with Tim and Ken, and we're looking at what we can bring to you next time, so there may be more at next meeting. But this time it's about beyond the box. It's about promoting cardboard to the consumer. Those of you who've been coming to these conferences for a while have heard me talking on a number of occasions about our promotional work. And I should say before we go any further, our thanks to Richard Jarrett for getting all this started. Richard was in the CPI Corrugated Council board meeting 15 years ago, and I joined the company, and we were both saying the same thing: why aren't we saying more? Why aren't we shouting from the rooftops what a great product we have? And Richard got the unenviable task of being invited to chair a committee, and I was secretary to that committee, and we've done a great deal of work over 15 years. But the reason I want to spend 15 minutes today on this is because we have got some unprecedented and some excellent results. You may recall that we used to be a message to the customers through the trade press. About 18 months ago we changed and we became, let's go out and with the industry promotional message, let's do something which the industry hasn't been good at. Any corporate can hire an editorial in a major national paper. Any corporate can put something into the Grocer magazine or Packaging News. But how do we get into the Telegraph? How do we get onto national radio? How do we get into the national media? So that's what this is about. And last year's campaign had 4 major projects. I don't have time to go into detail, but I'll touch on each of these. 4 major projects last year, 1 in each quarter, and then running throughout that, a small amount of trade communications, a significant amount of social media, and we heard excellent commentary from Georgina this morning on the importance of social media. We're fitting into that in very much the same way that Georgina outlined, and of course, website behind the scenes. And here's a snapshot of what we did in 2019. You can see those numbers for yourself. 30 Instagram posts from 15 influencers yielded 330,000, or engagement of 330,000 social media, people who use social media, general public. 170 pieces of consumer media, 16 pieces national. And what you can see in the middle here, a total potential reach for the year, 338 million people. Now, I didn't think these numbers were possible. This time last year, you may recall I was saying through 2018, we reached a potential audience of 45 million. And we were over the moon with that. Potential audience in 2019, 338 million. Now, clearly that's much greater than the population of the country. Clearly, potential audience doesn't mean we actually got through to 338 million. But if we got through to 1%, or 1% of 1%, those are people in the general public that wouldn't have heard our messages before. We're doing something through this campaign that, as far as I'm aware, even the major brands are not doing. In corrugated, the major brands are not doing. This is something novel. Sample of some of our coverage. Packing a punch in the Scottish Sun. Our sculpture of Atlas, I think I had that, I'm sure I had a photograph of that at a previous conference. 7-foot statue of Atlas. The Greek god who carried the world on his shoulders. Our message was, if you, the consumer, are concerned about recycling, if you feel the weight of the world is on your shoulders, then you can turn to cardboard. We're the good guys. 7-foot sculpture, got some great coverage. We're in the Guardian newspaper, as you can see. We rather overestimated the ease with which you can then bring it home to your company headquarters, because that globe alone is about 4 feet wide and it's just slightly wider than a standard doorway. Our company secretary had quite literally to take the door frame off the hinges. But that's a minor thing. We've got some really good coverage. Atlas alone got us potentially to more than 100 million people, and that was Q1. I'm not going to dwell any more on 2019. We had 4 successful projects. I think these slides can be available to you if you want to see them. If you've got any questions, do come back to us. If you do nothing else, go to the Beyond the Box website, cardboard.org.uk, and just follow what we're doing. If you think these slides are glitzy and impressive, it's not me. I hate to ruin any illusions you may have. These slides come from the PR agency, guess what? So this is the message they're giving us. In any sort of consumer campaign, you go through awareness, you go through education, you go through a process of inspiration, then hopefully you get to a point of behaviour change. And that's the process that we're on. We've started into this year, we're looking to inspire. And the point that we made to the Corrugated Council when they met just last week was, you've got to keep doing this. The sums of money involved are reasonably big, a drop in the ocean for the corrugated industry overall, and we turn over 1.5 billion, whatever it is, but they're still fairly large sums, and to any resistance, the message is you've started, you've got to continue, because we're only going one way. We've improved from 45 million potential audience this time last year, 338 million audience now for last calendar year. Where might we be next year? Who knows? So we're hopefully heading upwards. This year, another 4 quarterly projects. I'll go through those very briefly, and each of those projects designed to make a big hit. We're going to engage with social media in the first quarter. We're going to look at data-driven news, what we're calling packaging satisfaction, in quarter 2, and then how green is my shop, quarter 3, and then some sort of stunt to be confirmed. I'll come back to all of these in a moment. Again, throughout the year, a series of projects that are running throughout. Again, a small amount of trade media. Again, a significant amount of social media. Again, enhancing the website, trying to make sure that we're up the search engine, getting the search engine optimization, so if people hear about Beyond the Box and go searching, we're the ones that they actually find. But in addition to all of this, this year, improvement, increased activity on last year, we're going to have a press office. There's going to be other activity between the 4 major spikes, and that press office gives us the chance to react to stuff. Rather than planning and doing and moving on, press office is a chance to do something in between. We don't really know what it's going to be yet. It's going to be flexible during the year. So, quarter 1, this is the social media influencing. Pizzas. We've got one of the CPI members who's going to make up some pizza boxes with our logo on, with our recycling messages, and they're going to go out to social media influencers. A gift of free pizza. Social media influencers hopefully then will say something around our messages. And the message here is you can recycle this pizza box. There's actually some controversy out there about whether you can recycle a pizza box. Some councils say no, some councils say yes, some of the pizza suppliers say no, some say yes. So we've got an absolute cast iron guarantee from the authoritative people, the paper mills that actually do the recycling, and they've said yes. On condition that the consumer does everything they can, shake out the bits of pepperoni and the old crusts, take away all the stuff they can, then we'll deal with any grease that's left over. Is a pizza box recyclable? Answer yes. So that's the message we're going out to social media influencers with. And if someone comes back, oh, my council won't accept, thank you very much. Why don't you encourage them to do something about it? Why are Domino's, stroke Pizza Hut, stroke whoever, saying you can't recycle a pizza box? Thank you for advising us. We'll get on to their CSR director and we'll start changing the opinion. Pizza boxes are small numbers. It's not big business, but it's recognisable. Everyone knows pizza, everyone loves pizza, and it's what the government would call totemic. It's something that people can recognise and starts to change their thinking. And as we talk about pizza boxes, the message, of course, will be, and every other bit of cardboard is recyclable as well. Quarter 2, packaging satisfaction. We're not sure exactly where we're going with this, but it's going to be something around data. The agency came to me and said, can we do a carbon footprint analysis and prove once and for all that cardboard is better than plastic? And the answer is, sorry, no. Not unless you've got several hundreds of thousands of pounds to spend and expect to be arguing with the plastics industry for the next 24 months. That's not the way to go, not carbon footprint. But there's going to be something we can draw out. We're going to deal with academics. We'll deal with some sort of carbon analysis done in a way that suits us. So we move from social media, everyone loves pizza and it's recyclable, to some sort of statistics-driven quarter 2 project. And then that feeds into quarter 3, how sustainable is your shop? We'll start looking at supermarkets, which supermarkets are recycling their cardboard, how do recycling rates vary? What can we say about different supermarkets? We'll engage with someone like the lady, the sustainable dietitian, and then this is where we're going to make our big hit. If you saw the expenses behind this, this is the big one. So Q3, alongside Recycle Week, we're hoping for some really big results. Drawing on the data from Q2, possibly drawing on Q1 if that works, big hit in Q3. Interactive quiz on the website. Radio Day, you may recall I did a Radio Day last year, speaking to 14, 15 different radio stations over the course of 3 hours is quite an experience. We'll do that again. Last year we got to 1.25 million with the Radio Day. We'll do that again and we'll see how many that takes us to. Q4, you're busted. You may have seen this photograph before. This is how we started the campaign. Our parliamentary launch happened to be on the 6th of June, anniversary of D-Day. We did a bust of Winston Churchill. We got a bit of controversial response online. How dare you invoke D-Day? It's not very respectful. But it got people talking. Sometimes you just have to push the boundaries and do something that actually gets people talking. So you're busted with cardboard, some sort of sculpture, possibly Piers Morgan, possibly Greta Thunberg, possibly someone who excels at the Tokyo Olympics. It's a bit up in the air at the moment. We'll see how we go. But something to make a stunt and hopefully big photo opportunities at the end of the year. And again, just looking briefly at the projects through the year, Press Off is the big change. Some ideas here, we don't know where we're going. The big point about Press Office is we can react. Some of you may know about a report that's just come out from the Green Alliance. They are environmental NGO. They talk about the importance of consumers recognising the value of packaging. They talk about how food waste is important. They say a lot of good things, but they also say you shouldn't be too quick to move from plastic to cardboard because cardboard has a higher carbon footprint. We need to look at that, we need to respond, and that's the sort of thing our Press Office will react to. We didn't know it was coming, now it has. How do we react? What messages can we put together so we can react immediately, and on what occasions do we draw on the Press Office to make a more substantial response? Social media, I don't need to say much on this. Georgina did an excellent job earlier. It's about Instagram and it's about Facebook in our case. We've chosen not to go with Twitter, we've chosen to go with those two, Facebook and Instagram, because they appeal to different age groups, different demographics. We're posting, we don't actually have our own Facebook account. What we're doing is what's called dark posting. So if you've got Facebook or Instagram, you might see our advert pop up. Did you know you can recycle a pizza box? Hashtag pizza box, hashtag beyond the box, so on and so forth. We're also on Instagram, and as you can see the numbers there, we got just under 1 million impressions last year, and that's only going to go upwards. Website enhancement, I don't need to say any more. Again, go to our website, Beyond the Box, which is cardboard.org.uk. That's where we're hosting our information. We're driving people through, so the limited information you can give them in a Facebook post or an advert, or when we do get into the national media, if it's directing them to Beyond the Box website, that's where we host the detail. So that's the programme for the year ahead. It's very fluid. We don't know exactly where we're going. I don't know what results I'm going to have for you this time next year. I hope they'll be bigger and better. But do get involved. When Tim introduced me, he described this as CPI's promotional committee. Thank you, Tim, but it's not. It's the cardboard industry's promotional committee. We've got representation from SPA, grateful for it. We've got a very substantial contribution financially. Thank you for that as well. So it is also your promotional committee. Do get involved. If you've got any questions, Neil is your representative. Go to Neil, come to me, speak to Tim, speak to Julie. Hopefully we can answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.